Of our Parisian Young podcast. My name is Aiden Crozier, and I got with me Andrew and Brittany. I wanted to do their announcements today because I wanted to make sure that we stayed up on my level. So I may just be doing all the talking. Who knows? We'll see.
Brittany looks a little sleepy today.
We forgot to eat. What time is it? 4:11?
We did. We forgot to get dinner.
Normally we get dinner for her. She's calmer.
I'm calm.
A little bit more relaxed. All right. Well, anyway, I'm excited. 28th episode. We're really pumped. We're excited. We're getting there. We're moving forward. We're growing. I can tell you this. There was a guy named Thomas Rayner. Most people know him. He's a famous pastor and works for churchanswers.com. And he was talking about, I just saw a sponsored ad. I see a sponsored ad on my Facebook page.
Yeah, we got those. We have sponsored ads.
Yep, we do have a sponsored ad. Thank you, Anchor FM, for sponsoring this podcast. I don't know if I can say that. Anyway, so they go, he says, look, he puts on the sponsored ad. They're doing a webinar. Pay for this webinar. There are churches, he said, that are regathering and are growing because they are regathering. And here are the secrets to their growth. Sign up for this webinar, $30. But I'm thinking, wow.
Sounds like us.
Sounds like us. I don't need your advice, Tom Rayner. We're already there, brother. We're growing at such a pace that we are
bursting at the seams.
Bursting at the seams. We're moving to 2 services starting at the end of the month, October 25th. So we have one more Sunday. This Sunday is going to be our last Sunday with just one service in the morning. And so we're going to be moving to 2 services. We're going to see how that looks, and should be exciting. One of the things that I know that we're going to be doing, and I think it's something I'm going to be really pushing for the church tonight during our midweek service, and on Sunday during our morning and night, we're going to be really pushing the fact that we have to really be going out of our way to show love to one another, reaching out to one another, communicating with one another, because I've seen it too often when churches go to 2 different services. You know what happens?
They neglect one.
They neglect one, right? One feels like they're getting more attention than the other. So we really, as a collective church, have to really make sure we're doing our extra steps to make sure that we're all staying as one cohesive church. And it's going to be an interesting thing. I don't know. We'll see. November, we're going to be starting pushing invites for the end of the year push, and so that's going to be exciting as well. Getting people into the church, getting people into these 2 services, reaching out to friends and neighbors, and we'll see. I think with this election, as soon as this election calms down, I think things in our society will start to calm down. To a degree. There's going to be protests again. People are going to get upset because their person didn't win. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I think everything's going to start calming down. We're going to be talking about the election results, and we won't be talking about the virus as much or the insert problem in our society. So that's where we're at. But we're excited. We almost hit 200 this weekend.
We were so close.
So close. Yeah, 190 something. So
191.
We're so excited. We're excited. We had a lot of people here for our
The best part is I could think of 9 people that could have filled those spots, and we could have broken.
Yeah, we say this all the time, but we had a lot of our faithful members that are there all the time who just had missed. They were working, they were out of town on vacation and things. So we could have, we would have been over 200 easily.
Yeah.
Just life.
Yeah, that's good.
But that's exciting. I mean, that's huge. Going from 20 to 190.
Well, especially like you said earlier, but looking around and seeing other churches that are going the opposite direction, I think it's very encouraging.
Yeah. And Jason Lovins did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
They were fantastic.
Fantastic job.
One of the things Jason Lovins' band travels all over, but one of the things that they were really, they don't have a set list. And so they kind of just play it by the crowd, and they literally, I talked to him before because I was talking about how much we love hymns and all that, and that's what they did. They pretty much stuck to their hymns. So they played like 3 modern, I guess called modern day songs or whatever, but
still, even
and one of those was requested by me. I wanted them to sing their song "Sovereign Lord" because that's my favorite.
That was a good one. But even the one song they did, "How Great Thou Art," but they mixed it in with a
they did
more of a. But even that's an older song.
But like your grandpa Pat, pop. He
Is that what you call him now? Is that what you call him?
That's what I call him.
Okay, cool. That's fine.
So he was out there talking to Jason. He's like, "Oh, those old songs, they really just get me. I don't care how you play them." He's like, "I love them." I was like, "That's exactly right."
Good.
But I think that churches can do that regardless.
Well,
I think you can play those old hymns.
You look at a band like that.
The young people go, they know no difference, right?
No.
Because most of the new music young people don't listen to anyway. No kids listen to praise and worship on the radio. I can promise you that. They're listening to Cardi B. But anyway, you're sitting there.
We don't endorse Cardi B.
We don't endorse. I'm just telling you that's what they're doing. Like I know your kids are homeschooled or your kids are sheltered in your house, but let me tell you, they're listening to Cardi B outside of it. But anyway, you're sitting there. They like the music. On top of that, they have no idea that they're hymns. So I think it's hilarious.
You're tricking them. You say let's go sing some hymns. They're like,
yeah,
do that.
And then all of a sudden, their parents are singing the hymns, and they're like, "Wow, mom's actually kind of cool because she's singing these
praise and worship
songs."
songs.
But no, they're hymns.
It's cool though, no joke, because when you talk about growth as a church, like
Yeah.
we're getting ready to bump into 2 services, but when you look at say a bigger church for even bigger than us, if you look at a church of that capacity, you say you could do that. You could do hymns. You could do that on a scale, because look at a band like the Jason Lovins band who does that. Like that's how they make their money. They're singing hymns.
Here's the reality: a lot of these praise bands in these churches stink. They're not very good. They're amateurish, and so you're playing amateurish songs that people know. Like people on the radio, they know these songs. They know when Elevation starts playing. Elevation is perfection.
You're playing an Elevation song, or you're playing a whoever you name it song, and you're not singing it.
You're singing.
You're not there.
You're singing it awful, and so it takes away from it. So it becomes a distraction. I believe it becomes a distraction, and so play hymns. Hymns different, man, because they don't have anything to base them off of.
Yeah,
right?
Just singing the hymn.
Yeah, it probably sounds better than just a piano by itself, But we're blessed, man, because we got our piano and organ. Because I was trying to explain this to Jason Lovins. I said, y'all got to come back and just listen to one of our services.
Just come join us.
Just come join us one Sunday, because our piano player, Miss D, and we have organ business.
Shout out D Browning. She watches.
It rocks and rolls. I mean, our services are upbeat, just with the piano and organ.
I'm telling you.
Our services are upbeat. They're, blah, 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 blah. My brother Ace was like, actually, that might have been a slower service. Even though it's praise and worship, he's like, it actually is kind of like he's like, you guys are upbeat all the time with all of your hymns.
It's true.
So they actually kind of played slower hymns.
Yeah, that's true. They might have actually slowed
it
down.
it actually kind of slowed your service
That's true.
down.
That's probably actually true.
So I thought that was an interesting thing. I'm like, yeah, I guess it wasn't a bad thing, but it wasn't as upbeat as our normal services as far as music goes. Weird, ain't it?
No, that is kind of weird. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm like, we rock on a normal Sunday.
Well, here's the thing.
Place is rocking. We're all singing.
Exactly. Here's the thing. But we do that because we're excited.
Yes.
Right? We're not just doing it because we're like, oh, this is, we're just going to hype everybody up. No, we're excited to be at church on Sunday.
And I think that was what was fun for them was they were able to come to the church. Our congregation is a fun congregation. They're excited. They're happy to see each other. We're not so nervous about the virus that we're not talking to each other. It's like we've been to some churches where they're so nervous about the virus that they're zombies and they're not touching each other. They're like, oh my goodness, don't touch me, get away from me. I'm like, why are you at the church if you're so scared of this virus? And so anyway, we had it. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. And
I almost feel like if some of the churches didn't ever go back, the church, I'm talking about the ones that are doing mask wearing and blocking off pews and stuff. If those churches, I feel like if some of those churches didn't go back, I still think there would be just as many churches that were still doing strictly online services. Because I feel like they're only doing it because every other churches just went back, so they're like, oh, let's just go back to service.
Well, let's verify this with a Wednesday night. Because most of these churches are still doing Wednesday night online.
That's true.
And they're doing that so they can say on Wednesday, service is canceled. I'm not going to do it tonight. I'm busy. I'm out of town, and so I'm just going to cancel it. And it's an easy out for them. It's an easy out. We have one church around here that they're canceling their service, but they're having a business meeting tonight. So I'm
How do you do that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you're okay.
What's the business though?
Well, it's just a normal business meeting, but they're all gonna congregate for the business meeting, but they can't have a Wednesday night service, and you can't do a virtual service.
Golly.
You see how crazy this is getting? I mean, we're getting out. And here's the thing: the church is right now, really, honestly, the church is the thing that's pushing forward with almost I feel like the church is on the forefront on on things
forward?
moving forward.
Moving
Yeah,
on.
kind of
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, we really are. We're the ones that were just kind of like, all right, we're going to go back into session.
Yeah.
We're going to gather again.
Well, as soon as we were able
People
to do
hate it, but it's just the reality. We're 5 months in, not one single case come to our church.
Knock on wood. But I think we're good. Listen.
Not knock on wood, it's just the reality
I
of
mean,
life.
it's
It's
a
true, it's true.
virus. If someone gets it from coming
But
here,
look at
guess
the
what? They
same-
could get the flu.
I was gonna say, look at the same thing with the flu, though.
Get anything.
It's inevitable.
I mean, you're talking about 100-something people here. All these people go to different works. They go to different parts of life. They have different family members who are in different areas. We're all filling up at the same gas stations, touching the same handles. So you're telling me, like, I don't understand how this thing ain't spreading faster than what it even says, but we're not going to get into that this podcast. I'm so sick of talking about the virus. I feel like that's all I talk about, that stupid freaking virus. The reality is, God is moving, God is good,
And God's blessing us.
and God's blessing us for it. And we're not, when people come here on Sunday, we're not talking about the virus. We're not in your face about all these things that are happening out in the world. We're literally here
In fact,
to praise
I
God.
don't think this past Sunday, I don't think one thing was mentioned about the virus at all.
Yeah, well, there wasn't. There's no need for it.
No. Not even by Jason Lovins. I don't
No.
think he said anything.
It's just hilarious to me. You know, people are like, oh my gosh, all y'all do is talk about politics. No, we don't. We don't talk about politics. We don't talk about the virus. We literally praise God. We preach the gospel. We have a good time. We shake everybody's hands and we leave. So anyway, that's just the reality of life. So life's going pretty good. The church is growing, and I don't know, man. I literally sit there with my phone, and I just wait for somebody to call me to say, Abram, what are y'all doing? Nobody ever does. Nobody ever does. People.
I think that talks about them more than about us, though, because it's
100%.
like they obviously see the growth and they
100%.
don't care. They don't want to get there.
No.
That's why they don't.
They
ask.
say they do.
Well,
But
growth.
they don't want to do
They
it.
say they do, but here's the thing: they use this as an excuse. Our numbers are down just because of the virus.
Yep.
Well, the problem with that is our numbers are skyrocketing, skyrocketing.
But what is the biggest
Last week
thing?
we had 163.
What's the biggest thing that growth involves? Change, right?
And admitting
And
where
admitting
you're
that-
failing.
Yeah.
Admitting where you're failing is the biggest thing you have to do.
I don't wanna
Where
do
am
it.
I failing? Where's the issues? Where's the problems? change it, right?
They don't want to do it.
And people hate it.
And it's hard.
We took out a communion table in our. There's been a communion table here since 1978. Yes, since the place was built, and
Never been taken down.
it's just there's no purpose of a communion table because we're not doing communion the same way. We'll never do we will, as a church, we will never go back to doing the old communion way, mainly because it's
Time consuming.
time consuming. I'm shocked that nobody's ever spilled the grape cups.
Yeah.
You know, they're being handled by older guys. None of it makes any sense.
It was time to change that anyway.
And we were going to change it before the virus hit, and so the virus kind of hit, and so we were able to do it without any issues. But there's that. Same with offering. We'll never probably pass an offering plate the same way again. And for us, our offering's been going up. I don't know if it's because of the box. People feel
Yeah, we got this cool little box with Trinity's
I don't
name
know.
on it. It's kind of cool.
I need to advertise it more or something, but
It's doing great.
it's doing wonderful. So
Here's the thing, though.
there's no point in
I
doing
think
offering
it's
plates.
I think it's a good illustration of the fact that things that you've always done, the way you've
Yeah.
always done them, and traditions, the way you've always done traditions, mean nothing, right?
Well, and so we so we took out the communion table. There literally was a gap in our steps. We took the communion table out. We finished the altar. So there's literally the altar expands from one
It's
end to the other.
now a full looking stage. You know?
And it helps with us because we push altar calls and we push baptisms, right? So this is a great opportunity for people there's more space at the altar for people, and there's more space for me to walk around, which I'm kind of excited about.
It's more opening,
But
welcoming.
it blows my mind. There's still people that are like, oh my gosh, where's the Lord's Supper table or whatever, the communion table? I'm like, it's not here. You know what I'm saying? Well, what? But don't we need it? No, we don't need it. Isn't it biblical? No, it's not biblical. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing.
It's so bizarre to me, man. And guess what? You survived. You survived without it this Sunday. Y'all didn't even notice it.
They didn't even.
You see what I'm saying?
They
It's
didn't care.
weird. People are weird about that kind of stuff. But I don't know what to say about it. But it's like that's with everything. Every time we change something in the sanctuary, people go, "Why?" It's like, well, why not?
Yeah.
You know, these things are. I'll give you another example. We had these little trees that were just literally sprout out all over the sanctuary. I'm talking about trees. There was literally branches with leaves on them, and every single one of them just collected dust. There was just dust all over them. and they were just there. I don't know. We took them away because I go, what's the purpose of them?
There wasn't.
They're just sitting there.
There wasn't a purpose.
So just things like that. We'll see. It's an interesting thing. But that's life. A lot of pastors don't want to do change. I mean, how many pastors have been here with all those things there? The community table, the trees, the sanctuary looking the way it did, the fellowship hall looking the way it did. How many people stood there and said,
this looks all right.
I'm not going to, it's not worth it to change it.
Yeah.
Just for whatever reason. Even if it's like when we walked in, we used to have tacks all over the walls. Just little tiny holes where they would if they had a hangable poster, they took thumbtacks and they would just put little holes all over it. So this entire sanctuary and fellowship hall were just filled with nasty holes everywhere. And how many pastors sat there and never changed it or never said, yeah, let's stop putting thumbtacks everywhere. It's tearing up our walls. No one ever did.
Nope.
Because they're so worried about, I don't even know what they're worried about. I can't get inside. I can't get in the head of a pastor to save my life.
I think pastors are too worried about offending the members, but it's not about the members. And if you're focusing solely on what the members need and what your members need at your church, then you're not doing it for the right reason.
And if the members want you to only care about them, then that's also a problem.
Exactly.
It's a big problem.
Members come last.
We've talked about this before probably. Actually, I don't even know. But we've had situations, and I think this is the biggest thing, is we've had situations where people got upset, left the church, and it benefited us.
Yeah.
Right?
On multiple occasions.
Multiple occasions.
Yeah.
The first time we got here, there was a guy who, it was the thumbtack issue. I actually said, I don't want thumbtacks on the thing.
Gone.
We were getting ready for VBS.
Yeah.
I just made this announcement in front of the church, no more thumbtacks in the church. I was pretty adamant about it. Next day, he starts putting thumbtacks on the thing. I said, you can't put thumbtacks on there anymore. Gets upset, leaves. Everyone goes, I can't believe that guy just left. You will not have a church anymore. He does everything. He did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. I said, listen to me. If he doesn't like what we're doing, if he's not going to sit there and follow what we're doing, then what's the point? What's the point? Then what you find out a couple weeks later, our numbers double. And they go, why did it double? Well, because there was a problem in the church, and that problem is no longer there. Same thing, we had a worship leader who wanted to control the entire service. He wanted to control the church. He wanted to become a pastor, to be honest with you, right? He leaves, we go, what's going to happen now? Well, the numbers doubled.
Again.
So you go, well, what was the issue? Well, the worship leader was the issue. People didn't like him preaching and taking over the service, right? It was all about him and not about God. So I encourage pastors all the time. Sometimes the people that leave are the ones that are causing problems. And what usually happens is pastors go back and they beg them and beg them and beg them. And then they come back and they think, because the pastor does want to upset them again. So they start to take control over the church again. That just can't happen anymore.
Let them go.
You got to let them go. If they come back, then they got to follow what your vision is for the church. We have a strong vision for the church. We have a strong purpose for everything that we do. And I'm talking about everything, even removing the communion table. There's a purpose for it. And if you're not going to get behind that purpose, we'll continue on without you, because there's other people there. I got 2,000 people in Falmouth that we can reach out to, right? I don't need the 30 people. If you want to be a part of our church and grow with us, that's great.
Yeah.
Do it. And it leads me to titles. Well, let's talk about callings. This is something I was even going to talk about. The calling is driving me nuts. People aren't called it anymore.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Do you think you can fall out of a calling?
No. Is there a wrong answer? I don't think so. I think because if you're called to something, I think you're going to do it.
But will you always be called to that something?
I think the calling can change.
I think it can change.
Yeah, maybe fall is the wrong word.
Fall is the wrong word.
Change. Because here's where my issue is. I'll explain what my issue is. I know that there are pastors who were probably called to a church or a place for a period of time.
Yeah.
Right? They were called there to either help them get out of a situation, to transition to a situation, to help save somebody in a situation, and it had to be them at that place at that time. And God called them to that place. Then there's a point where God goes, all right, I'm going to call you either to another place, or I'm going to call you to step down, or you know what I'm saying? I'm going to call you to a different position. But they go, I was called to the
They
church.
stick on the first place that they were called. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
They stick to that first place.
Which is wrong. It's like,
And they can't get all over it. And they fight because they say, I'm called to this church, I'm called to this church, I'm called to be a preacher, I'm called to be a preacher.
which could be true.
At one point.
At one point,
Yeah.
yeah.
But now it's like, well, obviously, and you can see the signs, obviously God's not calling you to that position anymore.
Right, yeah.
There's a pastor up north, and he was at a church that was declining. I don't even know if they were declining. They may have been doing actually really well. All I know is he was there for a while. The church completely imploded on itself. It was obviously time for him to go. He refused to go. He stayed there until it imploded even more. And then they had to fire him. They fire him, and now he's like a salesman somewhere. So then I go, if you would have just listened to the calling, which is you were called to that place maybe for a moment.
Yeah.
Then when it starts to implode, like obviously you're not called there, but people go, I just got to power through. And I see revitalization books that say, I was reading one revitalization book that said it takes 10 years before that church will turn it. It said, so you got to fight through it. There was times I wanted to quit my second year. You got to fight through it. And then in 10-year, at the 10-year mark, boom, everything will change. And all these pastors read it because I was recommending this book by a pastor. I'm like, dude, we already revitalized the church. It took me a year. It didn't take me 10 years.
10 years is a waste of time.
And it didn't take me to lose everybody. It
Yeah.
didn't take me to sit there and like literally hate my life and ruin my family's life and ruin my
But 10
friendships.
Yeah, 10 years at that time couldn't have been, it might not have been God, it wasn't God's timing, obviously.
And obviously the guy that wrote the book, it worked out for him. I mean, his church ended up, something happened, he turned a key at somewhere. That's great for him.
Doesn't apply
That's
at
a
all.
dangerous thing to tell everybody.
Not every church can last 10 more years.
Whoa.
Look at the church, when we started at Trinity, am I right about this? They were about to close their doors.
Yeah, there was debate on what they were going to do.
Trinity
Week to week,
could not have
week-to-week
waited.
basis, yeah.
Trinity could not have waited 10 years. Trinity could not have waited 2 months.
And they couldn't have brought in somebody who was going to continue with the status quo.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have worked.
No.
They brought in another guy from out of town with a doctorate degree who didn't like the town itself, who didn't like the people, who didn't have an evangelistic mindset. The church would have just continued on with 20 people.
It wouldn't be here.
And
Trinity
it
wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Today.
But that's happening at every church all over, which is, we got people who are called at the church for a moment,
Yeah.
and I think a big part of it is titles. I think there's people that are just chasing titles, right? People want to be the youth leader. They want to say they're the worship leader. They want to say they're in charge of this. They want to say they're the treasurer. They want to say they're part of the lead of the committee. They want to say they're the pastor or associate pastor or executive pastor. They want that title so much that they don't care about the calling. They don't care about where God is calling the church to go. All they care about is getting that title and reaching that title they can put on Facebook.
Yeah, because once
It's
they
ruined our
get to that point of whatever the title that they get, they ignore that calling because they're like, oh no, I'm the pastor, I can't leave. I'm the pastor, or fill in the blank. I'm the worship leader, I can't leave. I can't leave. I've been doing it forever.
Why
And
don't
it's
they
not-
just stop?
And it's not even just the high levels. It is also your deacons.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
It's also because deacons is a lifetime, I think, appointment.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you're called. You have to be a deacon at that same church for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Same with sound people, money counters, greeters.
I think we've said it before.
We're all called to
I was
something.
gonna say, yeah, we're all called to
You
a.
should be.
Yeah, we all should be. And
Don't greet if you're not called to greet.
Right.
If you're like,
Right.
man, I feel God's calling me to greet people in the morning and hand them the bulletin, and then do that. But guess what? You may not always feel called to do that. Like 5 years from now, when you're grumpy and you hate life and
you
hate people,
may not be the best.
Yeah,
leader.
yeah.
not the best greet. And you could say, hey, I was called, but you were called 5 years ago. Move on.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to put
It
it.
really is a heartbreaking thing to me. And I think if the churches would really focus more on mentorship and growing from within, the churches would benefit more than anything
Okay,
other. But
it's-
we're so worried about going over to another state to find other pastors who come in here, they don't understand our communities. I hate to say this because I mean, at some point maybe another church will call me in another state and I'm going to have to go, but I'm going to tell you this. I promise you it'll only be if I'm called. It'll only be if I'm called. It's not going to be for anything else. You have to be called. And when you get people from out of state, guess what? Their families are from out of state.
They don't know the community. They don't know anything about it.
So when it's holiday time, which people are more depressed during holidays. So holiday time, well, that's where your pastor is. He's on vacation
He's
because
gone,
his
yeah.
family's out of town, right? Or I mean, insert problem. If there's an issue that happens and you have to be near your family, he's out of town, and so you're
And then you're out of pastor.
you're out of a pastor.
Back to square one.
I really wish we would just start growing people from within and stop looking everywhere else for them, but look right in front of you.
Well,
Even in our churches, we have people that
want to move up.
are capable of being pastors.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That
It
they
just
need to
takes
give-
people literally looking at a person saying, oh, I see this in you. Like me, for instance, I didn't think I would be a youth leader, but someone literally looked at me one day at church and was like, oh, I think you'd be good for this position. And guess what? I took it, and then I prayed about it, and I was like, wow, I think God is calling me to step into this position. So I did it, and
You guys are actually a perfect example. Let's actually go in details about you guys over the next 5. We can do. I think we can do this in 5
You
minutes.
think we can?
I hope so.
If not, we'll wrap it up.
Be honest, you guys, we were okay when we were at the last few weeks at Main Street.
yeah.
Okay, we were sitting there because our discussion was that whole summer we're going to be all in.
Or out.
We're all out, and you guys are like, we're in. We'll do it. Let's change this church around, and we're going to do it from within the youth group and expand it. And it didn't work out because, for me, I sat there and explained to the leadership of the church I was called to preach. Well, they said, we don't want you to be called to preach. We want you to be called here.
They were snuffing it. They were snuffing your calling.
They were essentially, yeah. We don't think you have the capability of doing it, you have enough experience, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So we go, all right, well, I got to go. I mean, God called me to preach. I started getting other churches, whatever. You guys go to another church
Flag Springs.
and start doing what?
I start trying to start a youth group, and then guess what? God takes me out of there.
Ripped it out.
So here's the thing. You guys are called to work with youth.
Yeah.
It may not always be that way, but you were. You guys felt
At
that
that point
call.
in time, yeah.
You guys were in a position at a church where you could have done that. The church did what?
Kicked us out.
They didn't want it. They didn't want it. They didn't want it. They wanted their
But
way
for
or
us,
our way.
but it was a really good thing actually, because for us it was a slap in the face to us, but it was a really God slamming the door in our face saying, I don't want you here.
And he had something way better in store for us.
Because
I don't even know if it was God slamming the door.
it might not have been.
And I'm sure, I mean,
It might have been an opening door.
but I think more so it was a pastor slamming the door,
Yeah.
saying, I'm not going to follow. I mean, you guys y'all had 12 kids that first Sunday or something. 15
compared to
kids.
their nothing, they didn't have
So
anything.
compared to their nothing, y'all brought in tons of kids the first time y'all had something.
Mhm.
And he still said that's not good enough. Like, well, that's not how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
We come to Trinity, okay? Man, who else would run the youth group? They were running youth groups. They were running youth groups from kindergarten to 12th grade, all in the same thing.
No, gosh. Awful.
But we brought it. But no joke, you guys were called to be here. And I even hate saying being called to a certain place, because I don't even say I'm called to Trinity. I'm called to preach.
Yeah.
Now, if God wants to put me in Trinity, that's where I'll put me.
That's where we're at.
But you talk about,
That could change tomorrow. That could change next week. That could change
Yeah,
in a month.
obviously we
But
thought
even your
something
callings
else,
could
but-
change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
like there might be a time where y'all go, well, you know what, God's calling me to an associate pastor position somewhere,
Yeah.
or associate pastor here, whatever the case is. God's going to continue to call you at different places. We have to be in tune with the Spirit so that we are allowing Him to guide us, so we're all ready for that.
Yeah, you have to be ready as, like, so many times you see pastors, like we talked about, who are so stuck in one, not even pastors, anybody in the church for that reason, that's doing that's so stuck in their one calling that they've got 10 years ago. But you have to be open and willing to follow wherever God's going to take you, because He's going to move you around like a puzzle piece. So just let Him do it.
The church needs called people.
Yes.
Like we've tried putting somebody in there for no reason, putting your kid in there because you don't know who else would take over. We've tried all of it.
Doesn't
Bringing
work.
the seminary guy from out of town,
Doesn't
none of it works. There's only one thing that can grow a church. It's the people that are called. And it's not just the pastor that has to be called. It has to be the deacons to be called. The sound people have to be called. The congregation has to be called to come to the church. Your greeters have to be called to greet. All the above.
Full circle.
Worship leader has to be called to actually lead worship and not make it all about himself. And so, man, we need called people. So that's where we're going to be at. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we'll talk about an article I saw in the New York Times about diversity, which I think is kind of funny.
Interesting.
And I want to talk about this Sean Foyt.
Sean Floyd. Who is that? Guess we'll talk about it.
I don't know much about him, but it's an interesting worship leader that's making a lot of noise right now.
Interesting. Well, sit back. Look at that.
All right, we are back. We want to thank you for listening to those sponsored ads. If you were listening to any of our podcasts on what do you call it? I guess this regular podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, there is no commercials, so you're welcome.
You are welcome.
So if you're tired of all the commercials and you're like, I just want to listen to the whole show, the entire hour show without any commercials.
Less convenient that way, but.
Yeah, well, you need to turn into YouTube. Abe Courage Ministries.
You're trying to get more views.
Well, I keep thinking I should start
Separate YouTube channel?
separate YouTube
No,
channel.
I think it's a good thing because now they can click on Abe Courage Ministries to watch the podcast, and then from there they can see every sermon you've ever preached.
I know, but I still think I should have just. But it's too late now. We're 28 episodes in.
We're in. Sorry.
But I should have started this is a brand new thing. I think.
There's no like maximum amount of stuff.
But I think
you put on
people would have followed it more if it
We
preaching
launched
on
it.
podcast.
We launched it.
Maybe we should do it for 30.
No, let's wait. We gotta wait.
Do it for 30.
We gotta wait.
I could probably move all of them over.
I was gonna say, is there any maximum?
Is
Is there a maximum amount of videos you can have on a channel?
No.
It's unlimited.
I post tons. No, there's no limit.
Interesting.
Whatever my computer can hold. But I mean, YouTube.
Hey, we're getting a MacBook here.
YouTube, Facebook, all those things are gonna, like, Facebook's gonna, I mean, they hold tons of videos. I put more videos on Facebook than anybody in the world. I do videos all the time.
Every day. You cheat though. There's an app you use that posts them for you ahead of time.
No, it's Facebook.
No, it's not that. It's called something else.
Wrong.
What's it called? It's called something.
It's Facebook. So, I can't personally with Abrams, because you can't schedule a post personal,
It has to be a page.
but Trinity can.
Trinity's can schedule a post ahead of time.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I meant. That's what I was getting at.
There is a business app.
Thank you. This is what
It's a
I'm.
Facebook app, but it's just Facebook business.
Oh, that's what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That's just called like Business Suite.
I thought it was called something else.
Yeah, Business Suite.
I thought it had a cooler name than that.
No, they're slacking on their stuff. But anyway,
Brittany, are you okay with that?
I'm good.
You're a little
doing
quiet
well.
first half.
Doing well.
Look half asleep.
You guys just talk a lot.
I know kids are starting to get ready to go back to school here, and it's interesting because
1 week.
I live in Campbell County,
We
and so does she?
Campbell
Yeah,
County goes all the way to the river.
Yes.
I guess you're right. Well, anyway, I live in South Campbell County, but
He lives in the boonies.
But I have children, and so our oldest one. It's weird to say the oldest because he's not that old. He's only 5, but
Still pretty old.
he's been going into kindergarten, and so
older than the 4-year-old.
he goes to kindergarten every day. So he's in class every single day.
It's
like-
funny that you said this because he literally picks on us about going to Campbell County, like in every one of the sermons.
Yeah, his kids go
But
there.
his children go to Campbell County schools. Do you care to comment, sir?
That's a good comment.
I mean, that's where I live. Where I can't bring him to Pilton, which
Hey.
is good.
So
for
then you admit that our education is
Terrible, yes.
Mediocre.
public thanks.
I didn't say my kid was going to get smart from all that.
Oh, man.
Caught you off guard, didn't I?
No, I didn't. I just think that when it comes to common sense, you guys don't have it.
Hey, I
What
have
do
it.
you
Brittany just doesn't
mean?
have it. Am I allowed to say that?
Give me a time.
What is the capital of New York?
Oh goodness, Boston? Is it Boston? New York City. Wait, New York's a state. It's New York City, right?
Oh my word! This is what I'm saying.
Before that, what'd she say? She said Boston. Where's Boston at, Brittany?
Massachusetts.
Yeah, not New York.
Guys, okay, that was a hard one.
Do you
That's
know
not
Kansas?
common
Okay,
sense.
you know Kentucky's?
Yeah, it's Frankfurt.
Okay.
Okay, what about Ohio?
Columbus?
I don't think that's right.
You guys don't even know. Sandusky.
No.
It is Columbus.
Is it? I thought
You're
it
a
was-
genius.
oh,
See,
that's where
I
what's
used
his
my
face is,
common
the
sense to
wine.
figure that one
Oh,
out.
mine's in Columbus?
Pretty positive, yeah.
Really? I gotta Google this.
Yeah.
Capital
First
of...
off, I just think it's funny. I don't even know where we're going with this. Thanks for interrupting.
I don't know, it's just-
Pilgrim County. So Pilgrim County.
We're talking about education.
Well, Pilgrim County is starting school this week.
It is Columbus.
And they are, I know. Pilgrim County is starting school this week,
What about New York?
but they're doing like a hybrid thing.
Albany.
I swear. If y'all know about Campbell County is actually moving. They're already on like phase 2, where they're actually going
Yeah.
to start bringing kids in every day. Do y'all know that?
Kim County schools
Wait,
are?
all like
Yeah, they're
high school, middle
yeah,
school?
I think they're,
Across the board?
by the end of the month, everybody's like.
That would be Kim County
hybrid.
schools.
It's not hybrid anymore.
I'm glad. I'm excited for
They're
it.
moving forward.
I'm happy for your sister. I mean, I'm happy for all the kids. I think they need
Seniors, I
to
think
be in
anybody
there.
really.
But my point is, so Campbell County's already moving, getting ready to go to phase 2. Pilgrim County's barely in phase 1. Like they're going to be starting with hybrid classes. I just saw an article where they're saying that their lunches, everyone's going to be separated in our lunchroom.
Okay, guess what I found out yesterday? Can I say this?
Insane, man.
I found out yesterday. My sister's in high school. She's a senior. So she told me yesterday that they have mask breaks. So when
Yeah,
they're in
same
school,
with
when they're in
our
school,
kids.
they've got 90-minute classes because they're longer classes because they're trying to limit the transitions. I'm assuming. So she's like, yeah, every class we have a mandatory 15-minute mask break. Is that weird? I would never would have thought about that.
Well,
Like growing up in school.
they have to wear masks.
I know, but how weird is that? Every class you have a mandatory mask break.
Now,
Weird.
here's what's weird.
Weird time.
All the students are following the mask rule. They don't have any mask issues at school. Everybody wears them.
Yeah, no kids showing up saying I don't want to wear
If
it.
I was in school,
He wouldn't wear one?
I'm not even saying me. I don't know what I would do. I'd probably follow the rules. I'm a rule follower.
That is true. It's hard to believe that
But
people aren't.
I know, like, my friends would be like, yeah, I ain't wearing no mask. And you can send me to the office and just expel me all you want. Like, we would have through so much problems
That is a
with
good-
the mask. We'd have worn them on our chin. We'd have had problems. We would have made them wet with like paper. And like, we would have did pranks with each
Yeah, joke out of
other.
it.
We would have, you know what I'm saying? We would have taken, during like a mask break, we'd have taken them and sprayed like you know that smell stuff. It smells like
Febreze?
past gas. No, it smells
Oh.
like past.
Or
We'd have put that in the mask so that when,
Disgusting.
after the mask break you put it back on. And that's like the smell you have to deal with the rest of the day. We'd have done so much
You guys
things
did-
like that.
you guys did
It would have
weird
been
things.
never ending. Also, I would have come by and I would snip the thing. I would just take a scissors and I would just go.
So
So then you're like things miss, like your ear pierces broke. We'd have done so much.
See,
That
the
could be
reason,
happening.
the
That
reason,
could be
no,
happening.
the reason
I
I
don't
think that
think
it's
so.
not happening, because I think you would hear about it or see videos or something. It would be on social media
No,
somehow.
we would see it on TikTok.
Yeah,
Everybody's TikTok. and
But
stuff.
You have
I think the
TikTok?
reason they're not is that the kids are actually
Trump
like,
said not to because if you have TikTok,
China.
yeah, well,
China.
this is why I do not talk. Anyway, I think kids are literally like dying to have some type of like, I don't know, normalcy, I guess we could say it, back into their lives.
Normalcy's making fun of is pulling pranks on each other.
Well, yeah, I know that, but
Definitely.
they might not be able to go to school if they do that. You see what I mean? Like they've already had to give up like.
So what you're saying is they're just
Okay,
they're
good,
doing it because they
good
want to go to
example.
school.
Good
That's
example. When I was in school, and I've told all my siblings this, all right, because they're Jasmine's in college and Randall's in
You tried to get out of school.
I would have done everything to get out of school. I would have been pumped if you said virtual school where you can stay in your pajamas and literally you can stay at home and Google all of your answers
So there
on
are
a
kids
computer
like
where
that,
nobody
though.
sees there. Like I would have been like, this is exactly what I want in life. You said, you know, I can come to school and then if I just play as much pranks as I can and get rid of masks, I can sit there and be done. You see what I'm saying?
That's what you did in college.
I want to do that. That would have been me.
That's what you did.
I didn't like college.
That's what you did in college.
I didn't like school. And when my senior year, if I could have skipped class, I was out. Like if I could come up with excuses, hey, I would come up to the teachers. I'd be like, I'm an aide for gym class. They need like my coach needs help. They'd be like, oh okay, we trust you. And I would literally just walk the halls until I got in trouble. Like I did all that stuff.
Yeah,
because-
but I don't know about Pendleton County, but Campbell County, they actually
They did
have
that.
where kids can choose to either
I
go to
get-
school or be online. So the people that don't want to be online, like, I mean, the people who don't want to go
I get what you're
in
saying,
person,
but
like
I'm
you're
saying I would have done everything I could to cancel school. Like we want like snow days, we beg for snow days. Now they go, snow days, can I have a computer to take home so we can work at home on during a snow day? Like we would have been like, no. Computers don't work at our house. Like everybody in Pendleton County, when I was in class, my entire 2007 class would have been like, internet, none of us had Wi-Fi at our homes to work on computers during snow days. I promise you, we would have
Yeah,
done
you
that.
probably
That's
didn't.
No, I'm saying nowadays we would have said that. We would have said that. We'd be like, we don't own
Sorry,
computers.
we can't do it.
Like seriously, we would have made sure that. And if one kid would have been like, I have a computer, we'd be like, you're dead. We're gonna kill you. Seriously. I've never seen it in my life. These kids nowadays are just like, yeah, we love it. We want to be in school. And then, like, I'm still upset my senior year. Are you kidding me? It's your senior year. Do whatever you can to get out of school.
Do you have a lisp right
Yes,
there?
he had a lisp right there.
You formed a lisp during that.
I know, I was trying to like be a student.
Do you think kids have lisps?
Yes.
Student.
A lisp? I have a lisp.
Alyssa does not have a lisp.
So do you understand what I'm saying though? Do you understand what I'm saying? I would have done everything I could to get out of class, which I did. I mean, when I was in college, that was my only mission in college was just, what can I do to not go to class?
Which everyone
And
does.
when I went in there and they go, and the professor goes, you know, it's on you to show up. It's on you to participate.
He's not gonna
And if
change
you, yeah, if you don't show up, it doesn't affect me because you're still paying tuition. And as long as you get the test done, I don't care. And so I'm like, so you don't grade us on anything but the test at the end of the quarter? And he's like, yeah, no. I'm like, all right, I'm out. Like, I'll see you.
Did you leave that day?
I'll see you on the day we take the test. And so I would just sleep in, and then like my friend would be like, we're taking the test tomorrow. I'd be like, oh cool, what's it on? He'd be like, pages X through X. I'm like, cool. Is it open book? He'd be like, no. And I'm like, all right, study the night before, go in.
Fail.
I'd be the first one done. And I would literally walk out and be like, there you go, suckers.
Fail.
Y'all went to class every day, and here I am, the first one done with my test. Hey, professor says, see you next quarter. I'm like, all right. See you at the finals.
I bet you were the first one to walk out of your college that year.
Maybe, but I still had a blast. I made it 2 years though.
That's impressive.
So,
It's impressive. 2 years of that. That's really impressive.
but I'm telling you what.
That means you actually would have done pretty decent on your test.
But all these,
You would have had to survive just a
all
little
these
bit.
kids saying that they actually like school and stuff. I
No, I
don't
definitely
know
think that's a
what
lie.
happened. I don't know what's going. Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's more the parents than the kids. I think
Yeah.
it's more the parents going, my sweet baby. I just want her to have a normal senior year because when I was in school, my senior year was so rad, and I miss it because my life's miserable now, and so I want to go back to like that's. I see that stuff too. Yeah, you're right. All right, well, that wasn't even in the conversation. So the New York Times, this was an article written by Jennifer Miller, October 12, 2020. And it's titled, Their Bosses Asked Them to Lead Diversity Reviews, Guess Why?
Why?
Because they're black. So when corporations have to address issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, they often drop the responsibility on their few black employees. Why?
Isn't that racist?
But that's not diverse. Diversity is like including, you know what I mean?
Well, this is the issue. This is what I've dealt with my entire life. We're at, I mean, it doesn't matter if I say it or not, but we were at a church. And this one, we were at a church. I was a campus ministry resident, which means nothing. It's just a stupid title.
A very fancy title that means
It's
nothing.
a paid intern, pretty much. It was a paid internship where everybody hated the youth leader, and they were getting ready to make me the youth leader. It was the weirdest time of my life. Greatest experience.
Really good learning experience.
Oh boy.
You learned a lot.
I've learned a lot. I've taken a lot with me, and I pray for that church every day because everything they do is backwards. But I sat there, and the very first time where I was because I barely was able to lead a lesson for the youth. I was just supposed to be there. I was just supposed to be the person. I mean, this is what they told me. I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to sugarcoat this. No, they literally said, Abram, you're just the personality, because the youth leader that they had no personality. And they literally brought me in as a campus ministry resident just so that I could build a relationship with the kids, because no kids had a relationship with the youth leader. Oh man.
That is so true though.
So
It's actually 100%.
the youth leader never let me do much of a lesson. If I did,
Or anything.
yes. If I did do it, like he wanted me to, because I said I knew how to play a guitar. He was like, okay, you're going to be in charge of the worship band, and I'm like, oh cool. So like, where are they? He's like, oh, like
We don't have one.
yeah, we don't have one. So there was a lot of stupid stuff like that. But I was the personality. He wouldn't let me really. If I did teach a lesson, he would sit there with his arms crossed, looking at me like, "Oh, I hate your guts."
Wow, that is accurate too.
It was awful.
He actually probably did hate your guts.
terrible.
No, he definitely.
But you were a campus ministry resident, so
I don't
you
know.
had the title.
I was just there to get some experience from the pastor. The pastor was supposed to be mentoring me, and he did. I got a lot of his library books, and I learned what to do and what not to do from him. So This is a bad podcast. I apologize. I'm gonna get a lot of emails about this from people. Anyway, the very first time though that they said we actually want you to lead a lesson. They just started a college group, and they're like, the guy that we have to get is Abram Crozier. He'll lead a good lesson. And so I'm like, yeah! I'm like, this is the perfect thing. I can lead a college group. I can show them that I can take over the college class. You know, at the time there was somebody else that was taking over it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I can take over the college class. I can do it. I can run the thing. I relate to these college kids. Whatever. I'm more than just a face. This is what I should tell people. I'm more than just a face. I can do a lesson, right? No. So they go, all right, Abram, we want you to lead the class. I'm like, so in my head, I'm already thinking of like lessons I can do. I can talk about, things that these kids are actually dealing with right now, things that they're going through, right? Because, kids were going through a lot of stuff. Gender equality, all this stuff. I was like, I can address any of these issues with these college kids.
Easy.
They're like, Aiden, we want you to talk about being black.
Which I don't think any of the kids knew you were black.
I didn't realize I was black. I'm like, when they said it, I'm like, oh yeah, I am. I guess I am black. Okay. I'm like, but you don't want me to talk about anything else, like something like they can relate to, because there's no black kids in the college class. They're all white kids. So I'm like, can I talk about like something like? Can I talk about what's like being white? No, we want you to talk about what it's like being black.
Isn't that a little racist? Just a little bit.
It's very racist. But I also remember we were trying to do videos for a Christmas thing, because that was the other thing. They gave me these stupid like projects because they didn't know what to do with me. Because if I preached, everybody got real pumped and they got excited and they were like, "Oh, well, you should be." This is the truth. They go, "Hey, you should be the pastor here." So they didn't want me to preach. If I led the youth group, they're like, "You should lead the youth here." They didn't want me to lead the youth. And so they gave me these little projects, and so I was in charge of like the Christmas Advent one time, and so I was trying to find people to do videos for the Advent, because I didn't want to do it a normal thing. I wanted to do videos, and so I asked this guy. He's Asian, which did not matter to me because I'm like, I don't care. I asked him, I'm like, can you do a video for us? He's like, is it because I'm Asian? I'm like, no. I actually think you'd be good on the video, but it's the same sort of a thing. These people, and that's just one occasion. It's usually, that happens all the time. Aiden's a token black guy, so you got to go, and people like me too, because I don't look black, so I guess I'm not as threatening as a black guy. I know, isn't that insane? This is what I've dealt with my entire life.
Where I'm
going with this is this article. Companies that are dealing with diversity issues call on the token black guy, the guy that's black,
to address the issues,
because they go, we don't know who else to do it. We're going to get a black guy in here. He's going to talk about his experiences and how we can do better. Same thing. I saw a video of a black guy getting arrested, getting stopped. He wasn't arrested. He was detained by cops because he fit a description of a burglary. Once they talked to him, they realized he wasn't the guy. The guy gets upset. They go, they finally hired him the next day to help with their diversity classes. This is because
they used an accent.
Yeah, here's a black guy. He can talk. We arrested him, and now he's going to teach us how to be better. That's the reality of what we're dealing with, and this is happening all over the place. If you're black, and you can comment and let me know, because I know other people are dealing with this. If you're black, we did this with our local newspaper in May when all the George Floyd stuff was happening. I get an email.
Was that in May?
Same with my father. My dad's black. We get an email from the local newspaper wanting us to comment on how racist Pelham County is. They go, will you tell us all the racist things you've gone through? And I said, one, this is the worst time to be talking about racism in our county, because it's a heated discussion. And all the issues of racism that I've dealt with growing up in Pelham County were either addressed at the time, because there was just stupid comments that kids said in passing. They didn't even know better, but it was addressed. I talked to them about it. We fought over it, or we took it to a principal, and the principal explained things. It was all water. Why did I bring that stuff up again? Just to get people upset and riled up. There's a couple members that had said racist things to me before in the past. Now they're members of my church. You know what I'm saying? People change, so I'm not going to talk about these old issues. And number two, I love Pelham County. There is more good in Pelham County than there is bad. This was 2 weeks after we had a mini flood. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's going to flood everything." It didn't flood anywhere, but we evacuated the entire town.
Prepared for it.
And so the whole town came together to help evacuate each other. That's the county I know. I don't know this place is a racist county. I know this place is a people that come together. Plus, when you come into town, we got home of Dante Allen, home of John Merritt, both of them blacks. So that was a stupid article, but
No, I think it's, my brother actually just applied for like a job to like move up in his company that he works at. And they're doing a big push. I think every company nowadays is doing a big push to diversify their like company. And it was between him and a woman. And the woman actually ended up saying, because my brother was more qualified, he's been there longer, more experience, just everything in between. And she was like, I don't want the job because you're only giving it to me because I'm a woman. And they were like, oh, well, like, we have to, like, diverse. And, like, she actually, like, said that.
Well, listen, I won't say the company's name, but I worked at a vending machine company where they literally said, this is the greatest bonus of our lives because we can literally declare that you are black on paper,
and they get to have
but you don't look black. So it's perfect for us. That's what they told me. Like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Same with, I've been on basketball teams where they were like, yeah.
But I think sometimes when we talk about, when you say you're diversifying something, sometimes it comes up with like a negative, like with my brother's like issue, for instance, like it like separated people more than brought them together. Like
always
when
does.
you think about like bringing diversity in somewhere, you don't just call it out like, oh hey, like we're diversifying something. You just kind of let it happen. It's a
because then you're
natural
singling
thing.
out the person who that.
Yeah, and then you bring attention to it, and it's like, oh, like that person might not want that attention.
Yeah.
Or doesn't need it.
Or yeah,
doesn't need it.
exactly. I don't know. It's crazy.
If you're going to look at diversity, you don't just call on the first black guy you meet. There's some people that actually study this stuff that aren't, and some of them are not even black. There's people that study this stuff. You know, you should really get some expert opinion instead of just calling on the black guy to tell you stories. Listen, we got about 9 minutes. I want to talk about this Sean Foyt. You heard about him, Foyt? F-E-U-C-H-T, something like that.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird name. Long hair. He looks like a hippie, and he's doing this. He's doing these revivals. So every time there's a protest, real bad protest in an inner city, he comes in the next day with his guitar and some sound equipment, and they literally lead worship, and tons of people come to this thing. Now, he's been doing this all summer long. I mean, thousands of people are coming to his little pop-up worship things. People are getting saved. People are getting baptized in the streets, you know, at these concerts. It's unreal. He's calling them, sometimes he'll call them a protest if people complain or whatever the case is. But he just did this on Sunday in the park in Nashville. There's a park in Nashville, middle of a park. He does this weekend, Sunday. Did a worship service. Nashville authority comes out and says, we're going to press charges against him because he didn't have permission and nobody was wearing masks or social distancing, and so it became a health hazard. What part do you want me to repeat?
No, I got it. I was confused about it.
Okay, so is that frustrating?
It's very.
Now, I don't know the guy. I don't know what his religious beliefs are. I you know, he talks about prophesying over one another, which is kind of weird. So I don't know what he believes, but I will say, I mean, you can't deny the fact that people are getting saved and they're worshiping together.
That too, and he has a right that this country believes in.
Wow!
Right to religious freedom, so he can.
We have a right to gather.
Whatever he wants.
Yeah, but if you can gather to protest or riot and all those things, you can't have a double standard with that.
The articles that I saw on them were so hateful.
Well, of course.
And the articles were saying controversial pastor leading in a pandemic, what do they call it? Anti-pandemic concert, something like that. I'm like, no, he's literally leading worship, and that's it. I mean, he had no other agenda. But he ran for Congress as like somebody. He didn't win.
So people knew who he was already.
No, they don't. I don't think he did
I've
very well.
never even heard of him. I've never even heard of this. But I will say,
but they're like, you know, he's just. But the article's saying like he's just doing it because he failed at the Congress thing.
Where's the thing? This guy can be preaching whatever he wants to preach. I don't care. Yeah. But he has a right to do it.
Unfortunately.
He has a right to do it.
Or fortunately.
Fortunately, I guess. I guess technically it's a good thing.
He has the right to do it. But it blows my mind because if in Nashville people were protesting,
they would let him go.
Wouldn't have an issue. Now I'll give you an example. Sunday, the same thing. Saturday night in Portland, Oregon, they decided that they were going to tear down presidential statues of Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln,
Honestly,
which shows how stupid these people are. That they're tearing down Abraham Lincoln's.
the one who freed the slaves.
Yeah, my word. We're literally living in a time of idiocy.
Ignorance. Is that the right word?
Idiocy.
Idiot. Is that a
You
word?
both sound stupid saying it, so just keep going.
Well, I'm correct.
I know that's the word you meant, but I
Pilgrim County.
I was throwing another word.
You guys are incorrect. Campbell County.
I didn't say anything.
Brittany proving that she didn't know either one of those words proves that. My point is this: they show how stupid they are, and they were breaking windows and setting cars on fires. That is okay,
Apparently.
but
Worship
Sunday morning
Jesus.
worship outside is not.
And my thing is,
We get this all the time because people are like, you guys are gonna kill everybody and cause a super spreader event. Like, get out of Dodge, man.
Here's the thing. Why don't the churches recognize this though? Like the churches that
Ours
are
has
doing this.
99% recovery rate.
Yeah,
You don't
99.9%,
care about
99.9996.
You're having church, you don't care about people, you kill people, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not it. If
We're doing it because we care.
Yeah, because
Yes.
we care, because we love people.
Because people need it. People need Jesus. They need church.
People need the Lord.
Is that a hymn?
I've never
I don't know if it's him. It's like people need the Lord.
Are we gonna get copyrighted for that?
Yeah, we will actually probably because it's a famous song. I'll let you listen to it.
You sounded just like him,
I
right?
know I did. I know I
It is
did.
probably a girl.
That's why I was high pitched. But see, that's the thing. That's the thing that I was trying to explain to people is this is the greatest time to be a church.
Yep.
I mean, I say this all the time. I think I talked about this episode, probably 3 or 4 episodes. 14, 12, 8, 7, maybe 6.
I was just telling somebody this week that when you throw those quotes out there, I think those are completely wrong numbers, but whatever. Because
Watch them back and
the
see.
funniest thing
Watch
is,
them back and tell
the
me.
funniest is
Watch them back and tell
the
me.
person that I told this to,
Watch them back and tell me.
they were surprised by it. They were like, "Really? It's not the right episode?" So I completely
No.
just ruined it.
Wait, run what? Watch them back until you verify.
I'm going to now.
Please.
Episode 12 and 14, you said?
12, 14, 8, and 6.
Could be 7.
Could be 7. Okay.
I don't know about 6. It might be 7.
7
My
and
point is
14.
this. My point is
Well.
this. Listen. This is how important this is. People need the gospel. And I keep telling everybody, when back in the day, like I always loved preachers. Y'all, you've heard me say this. Growing up, I used to watch old movies and like, what was
You watched The Preacher?
preacher was always doing what? He was always there at the worst time. There was a plague. Like you watch these old like plague movies where there's a plague and everybody's
What kind of
dying.
movies are you watching?
You know, like those old plague movies.
Never seen an old plague movie.
You never
I
seen
have in school, like in history class.
Yeah, like those
weird
The
movies?
beast people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is that? That's the preacher.
The priest.
Yeah.
The priest or preacher or whatever. He's the one that leads the coffins down the cemetery. Like even like
True.
Halloween movies, like it's the priest.
It's always
that-
the pastor.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
those are the guys that are in it. Those are the guys that are in it. And like, so in my head, as soon as this pandemic happened, I'm like, all right, my job, like this is what I was literally called to do. Like there's a pandemic happening, people are hurting, people are struggling, people are dying. This is where the pastor has to it's like, oh,
This is it.
this is my job. Now's my time to go in. It's the same with like if there's a terrorist event or like a school shooting.
Anything.
Who goes?
Pastor.
Pastor has to be there. If something happens at the school, guess what? I stop everything that I'm doing. I have to go to the school so I can be a counselor for the school system. That is what I don't understand is pandemic happens. The pastors go, well, I'm out.
We're leaving.
I'm done.
Sorry.
I'll get myself in the house.
I'm so depressed. I can't believe I have to actually work a long
But feel bad
hours.
for me. But feel
Yeah,
bad
feel
for me.
bad for me. It's Pastor Appreciation Month, and so you guys need to really. I didn't get to take as many vacations as I usually take. Get out of Dodge. This is what we're called to do, brother.
Yep.
Live in the pandemic, baby.
Yep.
Golly. And we're the ones that are supposed to be in the middle of tragedy and chaos. We're the ones that are supposed to be talking about the hope and peace.
Because we have
and
it.
comfort. Because we have it.
We have
it. For whatever reason, the pandemic happened, all these pastors go, I don't remember anything I preached for the last 40 years, and I'm depressed.
But feel bad for me. Because I need it. That's what they say.
It's preaching young, and
That's a good way to end.
I'm telling you, man, we're going to change the world. And it's going to start at this church, and we're going to literally spread it to you guys. So don't settle. Don't settle for a church. Don't settle for a pastor. Don't settle for anything less than what God has called us to do.
Amen. We're out. Hey guys, what's up? We thank you for listening to our podcast today. If you have any questions, you can email us at preachingyoung, no caps, no spaces, @gmail.com. Hope to see you next time.